Hi friend, David here from Learn Stage Lighting, and today I want to uncover, open up that box, drum roll please, the biggest secret to getting a great deal on your stage lighting equipment, to get the best price. Whether you're a church, a band, DJ, community theater group, one of the biggest mistakes I see that people make is that they go over to Amazon or their favorite online music retailer when they're ready to buy some lights. They add the stuff to their cart and they check out. What? And truth be told, I like when people buy stuff on Amazon. I buy a lot on Amazon as well. In fact, if you go to learnstagelighting.com/Amazon, you can go through a link that helps the channel out, helps my site out a little bit, and we get a small commission from Amazon if you shop through that link. So, I've got built in here almost a bias, right, that I should recommend you go buy lights on Amazon. But a lot of times I don't. Why? Well, this is my last and final secret into getting the best deal out of your lighting. So far this month, we've talked about the $50,000 mistake. That was our first video. And then we went into how to budget for buying lights. Don't forget the accessories. And what is good enough for your needs. How to find that perfect spot where you're the light that you need. Once you've figured out what lights you need, it's now time to go buy. Okay? Let me tell you a little something about lighting. If you're buying a light or two, maybe 4 lights. Again, it depends on the size of the light, right? If it's just a little par, that's not as expensive. But if it's, a handful of moving lights, you're up there in the multi-$1,000s, right? So you're buying a couple lights. And if you're buying a couple lights, then, stop this video, go to learnstagelighting.com/Amazon and go to Amazon and just buy them, right? Because ultimately, it's just a couple lights. It's not worth the extra effort to save a couple bucks. But if you're buying, I would say, more than 4 lights, especially if they're moving lights, if they're pars, maybe, 6 or so, then it's really time to talk to a dealer. And this is my biggest tip. Okay, because when we come to lighting, just for a little bit of background, they kind of follow the same pricing as the music industry. And what that looks like is there's something called the minimum advertised price, or MAP, available online. What this means is when you type in a product into the internet and you see the results, you see, B&H Photo Video, you see Sweetwater, those are some of the really big retailers in our space. You're going to see that same price for the light, right? Maybe it's $11.99, okay? Now, those dealers are paying less for that, and they should be, right? Because all that they do is teach people about and sell them lights. And they employ people to do so, and so they need to get a cut out of the profit, right? So they buy the light from the manufacturer for less money than they sell it for, right? And when we're talking about minimum advertised price, there's a good sized gap between those two. And that's great. Because ultimately, when you look at being a dealer, and I've worked for dealers and I talk to them often, if somebody goes and buys one light and there's somebody that you really don't know, okay, they just walked in or, called, it's 2020 when I'm recording this, and they want to buy a light, 2 lights, whatever. You as the dealer, if this is just Joe Schmo or Jane Schmo off the street, you don't know if this person is going to be a giant headache who's calling you being like, how do I connect it to DMX? How do I get this thing to work, man? How do I do this? How do I do that? You don't know if they're going to be that kind of customer or the kind of customer that's like, hey, it doesn't work. And then you're like, hey, turn on the power switch. And they're like, oh, you don't know if it's going to be that kind of person or if it's going to be somebody who never calls you, is able to make the thing work on their own, doesn't have issues, and doesn't break the thing either, right? You don't know which end you're going to be on. And so when you're selling something at minimum advertised price, you're basically knowing, okay, it's going to take us this long to process the order, to pack and ship it, or get the customer to pick it up. And so, that's a reasonable margin for one light. But if you're buying more than 4 lights, suddenly, at that price, it's quadrupled the margin for what is roughly to the dealer about the same amount of work. And I'm not saying, just to be clear, I'm not saying that dealers shouldn't make their money, right? This is late 2020, early 2021 when I'm recording this, and, this has been a tough year for everybody, right? And I'm not saying dealers shouldn't make their margin, but they would want you to know this as much as I want you to know this, which is reach out to them if you're buying like 4 or more fixtures, if they're greater than like 500 or 600 bucks, if they're under that, 6 or 8 fixtures. If you're buying more than that and you're buying cables, clamps, etc., reach out to your dealer for a quote. What's the best kind of dealer? Okay. So when you reach out to your dealer for a quote, they're probably going to send you a price that's at least a decent bit less than what you see advertised online. You can pat yourself on the back because you spend 30 minutes to an hour writing an email to a dealer, and you get back, more than $100 in cost savings, right? Would you like to make $100 an hour? I would. Sign me up, right? That's effectively what you're doing. What kind of dealer should you go with? Ultimately, the best dealers are somebody that's fairly knowledgeable, that understands the lights, and if it can be, in your local area, okay? If you're in a more rural area, you don't know dealers in your area, or you call them and they're really not knowledgeable about the products you're interested in, then online dealers are cool too, okay? If you go to many of them, you'll see they'll often have a contact, like a quote form or a way to put items in a list and send it off for a quote, or to sign up through their site to contact a salesperson, something like that. And this is a reasonable option as well. So if you don't find somebody local, find somebody online. Email them. Say, hey, I want to buy 4 of these, some cables, some clamps, etc. Send me a quote for it. And then they'll send it to you. And when you're dealing with these sorts of dollars, over $1,000 or so, then you're going to get the savings in there if you get a quote from them. And then maybe you say, hey, I will send you guys a check before you ship anything. And that's going to save them in processing costs too, right? Because they cash that check, they see that it's good, they send you your stuff, they save on the card processing fees. Okay? So this is really the biggest secret that I have. And, in the past, when I tell this to Learn Stage Lighting Labs members and I help them find the right lights for their needs, I've had Labs members save thousands of dollars simply by just writing a couple emails, picking up the phone and talking to a dealer, and just asking for a quote. The biggest do's and don'ts in this situation, however, is don't beat them down on price, okay? Don't go and find a local dealer and then email some online dealer, compare the prices, and expect the two to match, okay? Because when you're working with someone who's local in your area, the price may not be as good as an online dealer. It might be, it might not be. But if it's not quite as good as that online dealer, remember, with the local dealer, if you ever need to make a warranty claim, if you want to demo a different fixture, if you want to rent lights from them in the future, they're going to consider that you're a good customer, and that's going to factor into things. And things like warranty replacements, if it's under warranty, then you can often just drop it off at the dealer, and they're going to worry about the details, right? Dealers also can, if you have a big warranty problem, or maybe it's out of warranty, they might help you out with a rental. So I've got nothing but good things to say about finding a good dealer, because I've had so many good experiences in the past, as have so many of my students. So take the time. Don't just take the internet price that you see advertised as the gospel for what the price is. Because ultimately, if you're buying multiples, you can do better than that. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to know how to choose the best lights and how to dive even deeper into this, I hope, first of all, you've enjoyed this playlist and this series this month here on Learn Stage Lighting on YouTube. And if you have, then I'd invite you to check out Learn Stage Lighting Labs as well. We're going to have a link below here, because inside the labs, not only do we have courses that are going to teach you about how to get started with lighting and make some really great lighting, but we're also going to show you tips and tricks, even more detail than we went into here, about how to choose the right lights. And you'll have the ability to ask me directly or our community manager in our forums as to if you're choosing the right lights or not. And we can help you find the best light that's going to meet your needs. And then you can go contact some dealers and get a really great price. In fact, when I talk to people who shop out in the labs and they compare a couple different lights, ask for our opinion, and then go buy something, on average, they save a good deal more than their lab subscription costs for the year. So, if you're interested in that, if that sounds good to you, check out Learn Stage Lighting Labs below. Subscribe here. And if you're brand new to lighting, don't worry about the labs yet. Go grab my free guide to get started with lighting. You can click it here on this page. Head over to Learn Stage Lighting, grab that guide. Awesome. We'll see you guys in our next video. Have a great day.